Welcome, trader, to the free course on binary options. In this course, we cover the most basic information and finish with ready-to-use strategies that you can apply in practice. In Unit 3, we'll go over indicators, how they work, why they're needed, and we'll look at the most useful and essential indicators for every trader. In short, they really make your life a lot easier, and as a result, help you trade. In Unit 1 and Unit 2, we've already covered what binary options are, how technical analysis works, and how to do analysis in general. And accordingly, in lesson number 4, I'll show you ready-made strategies. So make sure to watch the previous lessons to be in the context for these lessons. Let's move on to Unit 3. Look. We have a lot of indicators at our disposal. On the Pocket Option platform, you and I can see quite a large number of them. We also have an advanced version available, where we can take a more detailed look at the TradingView platform. This is a separate platform, but we'll talk about it later. That's the next stage. There are also a lot of indicators here, many interesting ones that aren't available on the Pocket Option platform, but we'll get to them later. For now, let's figure out the basics. Why do we even need them? Look, an indicator by itself doesn't have any value. In other words, if you don't know how to analyze a chart, indicators are useless. But if you understand how price movement works, if you can see how the price is moving, for example, in a downward channel or an upward channel, or if you can read sideways movement, then indicators will actually help you. For example, we have indicators that show overbought and oversold conditions. Indicators like RSI or CCI. These two indicators do not show you specific entry points. They are not standalone trading strategies on their own. Instead, they simply indicate the areas where buyers tend to dominate the market and where sellers tend to dominate as well. Accordingly, if the market is overbought, we understand that most likely the price will go down soon. If the market is oversold, that's a sign that we're likely to go higher. In other words, the price can never just keep falling or rising forever. We have periods of overbought and oversold conditions when the price drops too low and we need a reversal. There are indicators like CCI and RSI. They're very similar, but they each track slightly different parameters. So these indicators are our helpers. They help especially beginners determine when a reversal might happen, when the market is overbought or, on the contrary, oversold. There is another category of indicators that also help us with analysis. There are indicators that help us smooth out movement, like moving averages. All these indicators can be customized to suit our needs. We can adjust their behavior and accordingly base our decisions on that. So for example, you and I, we see that there is a downward trend, and the price always tends to stay near its average values. So when we see a significant deviation, we understand that most likely the price will soon return to its average values. This helps us as well. There's an alternative too. The zigzag is also a pretty good indicator that shows us the average value, but in a rougher way. That is, here we can actually see the structural movements, basically whether the price is going higher, lower, or if we're in some kind of sideways movement. So these indicators also just serve as assistants. We can't use them alone as a full-fledged strategy, but we can rely on them and accordingly add them to our strategies. We also have channel indicators that show us channels, and accordingly, we can use them as reference points. These are the indicators that can actually be used for independent trading, but of course, we also need to set them up properly. We need to configure them correctly and work with them properly, and they show us the structure we're working in. This could be Bollinger Bands, it could be the alligator, which we can also use, or it could be the Keltner channel. So all three of these indicators are different, but each has its own logic. Accordingly, you need to find the option that suits you best. For example, what might working with this indicator look like? Here we have our channel movement, meaning the two boundaries of the indicator, and when the price approaches the extreme boundary. We open a trade with you on the rebound, and accordingly, we can definitely profit from this movement. There are also lower boundaries, so these are almost standalone indicators, but you still need to configure them. You need to set up the platform correctly. This will really be a great assistant for us. These three indicators, which you can see right now, are the Keltner channels, Bollinger Bands, and the alligator. Now, let's move on to the most interesting ones. Fully independent indicators that will help us open complete trades. But they will be quite complex, and you'll need to configure them. First, I want to remind you that our community has a VIP channel where we share all of our trades. You can copy them, that is, you just join this channel and, accordingly, copy our trades. If you want to copy our trades, just message us. I'll leave a link to contact us in the description. Message us that you want to become an elite member and we will add you to our channel. You can test indicators on our trades. For example, you take an indicator, see how it gives you a signal. Let's say we pick a currency pair, British pound and Japanese yen, and accordingly, there's a sell signal. And you compare it with the indicator, and accordingly, this way you also learn. By the way, right now, you can see the results of our traders who trade with us and copy our trades. By the way, we also offer copying, specifically copy trading. That means you connect your account. Again, you don't need to do any analysis, you don't need to do anything. Here, you can also see the results of the guys who are on our copy trading. How does it work? You connect your account to our traders. When our traders start trading, all the trades are automatically copied to your account. So, for example, if we enter a trade for 3 minutes and make a profit, you also get a 3-minute trade opened, and you earn from that as well. So, if you want to use our ready-made tools, I'll leave a link to our account in the description. Just write to us there, and we'll help you get started trading with us. Now, let's move on to the most useful indicators that will help beginners open trades on their own. So, look, the most useful indicators, in my opinion, and in the opinion of our team, are actually 3 indicators. If we're talking about using them independently, these are the following 3. Ishimoku, or as people commonly call it, the Ishimoku Clouds, Vortex, and MACD. With these indicators, you can already start working on your own. Accordingly, you don't need to look at any other values. You just take these indicators and work with them. In the next video, I'll show ready-made strategies specifically using these. Indicators. So, for example, let's break down how to work with Ishimoku. We'll have a very simple logic. For example, if the cloud is green, like here, and the price enters our 2 lines, then we open a buy trade accordingly. On the other hand, if the cloud is red, then we will open a sell trade. So this is a standalone indicator that we'll be relying on, and we'll have several factors right away. The first factor is the movement. The second factor is the cloud itself of a certain color. And the third factor is when the price enters a specific area. So as you can see, these indicators immediately show 3 values that we'll use as our basis. If we take, for example, the Vortex indicator, things are a bit simpler here, but at the same time, there will be very few entry points. So look, we'll have a crossover just like before, right? And when this crossover happens, we will open a trade in the required direction. For example, here we had a sell signal, so we could have opened a sell trade. Here we had a buy signal, so we could have opened a buy trade here. And if we sit down and look at all these crossovers, we'll see a pretty consistent pattern. Where did we have these trades? This is also a pretty good standalone indicator. It just needs to be set up correctly, and in the next video, I'll try to explain exactly how to work with it fully. We also have the MACD. It is responsible for independent trading, and immediately shows us the volumes, meaning who is currently dominating at the moment. Buyers or sellers, plus it also shows crossovers, but it has a slightly different logic, and it actually has 3 factors. Take a look. The first is the crossover, the second is the strength of the volumes, that is how far apart they are, and the third is where this crossover is actually located. For example, from the upper zone, we open sell trades. If the volumes are large enough, but if there are no volumes, the price just stays in place and we don't open any trades. If we have a crossover from below and the volumes are large enough, then we open a buy trade. This is also an independent indicator, so pay attention. How many factors do we have? Yes, exactly here. And for example, if we take a moving average, here we just have an averaged price value. Here, we have a whole set of tools that we can work with. We also have a lot of strategies. For example, look, we take an indicator. Let's say it's the RSI, and we take a level. So from here, we can already understand. Here, we have a level with you. And we understand that the price is about to break through it, but we see that we're in the oversold zone, so we can't go any lower. The price simply has nowhere else to fall. It's already oversold. So we understand that a rebound is about to happen. So like I said, we use this as a tool, for example, together with levels or with some kind of blocks, and also possibly with our ascending and descending channels. So when you mark out a channel like this, you'll see how the price is moving. The price is going up, and at some point we enter overbought territory. So just like here, when we're in overbought territory, we understand that the price won't keep moving up, which means we can enter a sell trade on the rebound from here. This is exactly an example of how we can use such simple indicators. For each of them, you need to use specific candles, sometimes Heikinashi, sometimes regular Japanese candlesticks. You need to fully configure the platform for all the settings accordingly. If you want to get the complete guide, first of all, make sure to watch Unit 4. But if you still have questions or want to get the settings right now, then message our team. We'll be happy to help and assist you in setting up your own strategy, as well as selecting the right settings for you. For example, take a look at the RSI right now and notice how it looks. If we switch to 2-minute candles, the values will be completely different. And in the same way, when we change the parameter, we can observe how things change for us. Our structure starts to form in a completely different way. That's why all of this is customizable. These are just our tools that we use. Some are independent, and some, let's say, are just helpers that complement our analysis. In Unity number 4, I'll show you ready-made strategies with all the settings. In other words, we'll go through everything from A to Z. We'll set up the chart, add indicators, and accordingly open full-fledged trades. So make sure to watch Unity 4 so that you can learn about ready-made strategies, but for now, I suggest you join our web channel, and also, if you're interested, link your account to ours. For additional terms, follow the link in the description, and accordingly, learn about our managers. These are really simple tools for beginners that help you grow. So that was a brief overview of the indicators. In the next unit, we'll go through them in detail, how to use them, and accordingly, how to work with them. But for starters, just review the most important points again. Let's put it this way, I've highlighted the key indicators that we use on a regular basis. In general, I'm leaving all the links in the description. With that, I'll wrap up Unit 3, and I'll see you in Unit 4. See you soon!